Hey everyone, I finished watching the next Street Shark episode, First Shark. This is a pretty cool episode. It's a focus for Slamu in particular, and also expands the world of Street Sharks a little bit. We get to see into a little bit into their version of the world. We get to see the Street Sharks version of the President of the United States, a fictional president, something quite a few cartoons did. I remember X-Men, the cartoon, had a fictional president. It was a woman. I can't remember what her name was. And I remember in Eek the Cat, they had a president who was, who was it? Ross Perot, who was an actual guy who did run for president, and Eek was all about, like, I guess if he had actually won. Although they didn't have, like, a lot of political jokes about him, as far as I remember. They just were like, oh, what if this guy who didn't become president actually was president, and that was about it. Anyway, this Street Shark episode starts off with a really weird thing that really doesn't happen often in Street Sharks, which is a fantasy sequence. It's a kind of thing you'd expect to see in like Doug or Arthur, where a lot of them would start off with like a fantasy sequence. Although this is a dream, so it kind of makes sense. It's not just out of nowhere. It's not a character daydreaming something like an Arthur or a Doug. But anyway, it's really weird seeing the sharks in this fantasy sequence because they're all dressed up in suits, and Slamu is the new president of the United States, and he's giving a speech, and apparently his brothers, the other sharks, are in his cabinet. I think that's what they call like the close, like cooperatives of the president, or I don't know if I'm using the right terminology. I'm not a politics guy, but I do know that a president like bringing in a lot of his family members or their family members to be like close in like jobs to the president, that's usually not seen as a good thing. So in Slamu's mind, I'm thinking he's probably a little naive to how being the president works. He thinks that all it is well, Slamu was a football player. He was like one of the best football players, and he probably thinks that all being president is just being a leader. He doesn't really take into account any like the actual politics of being a politician. Anyway, um, let's see. Oh yeah. So he's given a speech to some people, and one of the funny things is in the group of people, there's like the stereotypical redneck guy wearing like a trucker hat, which is, I guess even back then that was like a stereotype of someone who would actually care about politics a lot. So anyway, Paradigm flies over in his helijet. He transforms into Paranoid, and then Slamu turns into Superman, jumps up like several feet, bounces off this awning thing, attacks the helijet, takes it down, and then we see that it's just a dream, and Jab's waking up Slamu. Yo, Slamu, wake up! And then he's like, huh, what? And Jab's like, Dr. Paranoid's on TV. And then they see, let's see, Paradigm's on TV, and he's with the president, and he's trying to convince the president to, let's see. Okay, yeah. Paradigm's going to be doing a speech with the president, and then from there we go to wherever Dr. Paradigm is after his little initial speech, and he's talking to this Secret Service guy who later we learn his name is Vox, and he's trying to convince Vox that to let the president see firsthand these mutants that he has that, oh, what was it? Looking through my notes here. Um, okay, yeah. So, he has Killamari in a cage, and there's another cage with someone we don't see yet, and he's trying to convince the Secret Service guy to let the president see these things, and he wants to, I don't really know what's going on. It seems like the Secret Service guy should just be like, yeah, go away. They're not very good Secret Service guys. So, anyway, oh yeah, we see the president in Street Sharks, and he's a kind of generic kind of character. Let's see. I'm trying to remember the voice that the president had in the X-Men cartoon. I don't think she had any kind of an accent, but this guy, they gave him a slight southern accent. It's kind of a cross between George H.W. Bush and Jimmy Carter a little bit. And his design is kind of a cross between those two, and but with like a big, kind of broad nose. So then he allows Dr. Paradigm to give a speech about how dangerous people like Dr. Bolton are. And so the whole speech is Paradigm trying to shift blame from himself to Dr. Bolton and blaming Bolton for the creation of the Street Sharks and all the violent mutants. And back at the Street Sharks, is it Shark Central or Shark HQ now? I don't remember. Anyway, we get a comeback of the recurring gag of them breaking the TV when they get mad. Slamu picks up the TV and then chucks it into a giant pile of other broken TVs. So they've stopped eating the TVs, now they just break them. Which I don't know, that's always a thing I thought was funny in these. So then, oh yeah. After the speech where Paradigm's talking with the president over Dr. Bolton creating evil mutants and how dangerous the Street Sharks are, Slamu's all bummed out because he's like, no, I'll never get to meet the president. And I thought that was like a cute little personality trait, that he has a lot of respect for the president. And then Jab, he doesn't. He's like, yeah, who voted for that cheeseball? And Slamu gets mad at Jab for insulting the president. And then Ripster breaks it up and makes them go and check out what Paradigm's up to. So then, so they're driving down to DC in their vehicles. I guess they're not far from New York. Where does this take place? I don't know where this is supposed to take place. Like there's other shows where like you can kind of figure out where they take place. Oh, and a show kind of similar to Street Sharks is Toxic Crusaders. That took place in the fictional Tromaville, New Jersey. New Jersey is a real place, though. So for that show, it wouldn't be too far out of the realm of possibility that they could drive to DC. However, in Street Sharks, up till now, it hasn't really felt like New York. It feels more like a western place. It feels like maybe it's somewhere in California, maybe. But I don't know. I guess maybe it could be New York and it just doesn't snow there. Maybe all this takes place during the summer. So anyway, they're driving down to see what Paradigm's up to, and then we see Tentakill and Shrimp Louie are waiting in an alleyway to set some kind of trap for the sharks. And Tentakill kicks Shrimp Louie right out into traffic in front of the Street Sharks, and he's really lucky that they stopped. Because if they hadn't stopped, then the plan would have been ruined. Okay. Shrimp Louie talks to the sharks and pretends that he's defecting over to their side and tells them that he can lead them to Paradigm's lab in the area. So the sharks follow him to the lab. And, oh yeah, and it turns out Benz is with them suddenly. He wasn't shown anywhere up till this point in the episode, so that was very strange to see. Benz just spontaneously is there. I don't really know why he went along anyway. Maybe there's a deleted scene or something? Whatever. So anyway, they're inside, and Louie turns on them. Tentakill comes in, and this is kind of a weird thing. I wonder why Tentakill? Like, previously, Tentakill was seen as, like, just a savage monster. He didn't really have much going on in his head. He wasn't really a thinking monster. Although here, like, he can think and be, like, docile, so whatever. Anyway, he stands on one leg, flips a switch with his other leg, which is the other thing that kind of makes me wonder why him, why not Reptile? Why not Slash and Slopster? They would have been good characters to pair up with Shrimp Louie, but it's not the first season anymore. Slash and Slopster, we're not going to see them ever again because, I don't know. It's really weird. I don't know why they did away with them. Like, even if it had to do with, like, the toys, like, maybe they didn't want to do Slash and Slopster toys anymore. Like, why cut them out of the show? Like, they could still use them. And what about Shrimp Louie? Did Shrimp Louie get a toy? Like, I think maybe he did. I remember seeing a toy labeled Shrimp Louie. It didn't look anything like him from the show, so whatever. Moving on. When Tentakill flips the switch, the sharks are trapped in this metal box that for some reason they can't just burrow out of or knock over. Plot convenience. Anyway. Oh yeah, there's a really weird part where they're in the box. Let's see, Slamu is in the center of the screen. Benz has a line, but Slamu is the one whose mouth moves in sequence to Benz's line. It was just like, oh man, we got tricked by a shrimp. So bizarre hearing that come from Slamu, who has like the deepest voice. Like, I'm Slamu. Was it? And then Benz is like, "Hey, I'm Benz," and he has the like high nasally voice. It sounds so bizarre coming out of Slamu. And then the really weird part is Paradigm starts to have a line. Well, Street Shocks. The well is also lip synced by Slamu. Oh man, we got tricked by a shrimp. Well, and then Street Shocks, and then his mouth is closed. Very weird. I'm guessing what happened was in the storyboards or the key animation cells that were sent to Korea or Japan or wherever, they saw Slamu in the center and they weren't paying close attention to who was actually speaking and just animated whoever was in the center of the screen, their mouth, to match whatever the line was. Which is how they got both Ben's and part of Paradigm's line to come out of Slamu. Very weird. The show is very sloppily animated, although it has improved a lot from season one. Season one was really rough. Like the premiere episodes looked really good. They had their own rough patches, but they looked okay. I'm guessing there was a lot of effort put into them because one, they were really good, and also because it was probably partially made to sell the show and get the show popular. After that, the animation was kind of up and down from episode to episode, but so far in season two, the animation has been really consistent. It's not my favorite. I still kind of like some of the season one animation better, even if it was kind of rough and clunky at times. Anyway, Paradigm somehow appears inside the box, and they don't make it clear, is this him actually in the box? Is this a hologram projection of him? What is this? I don't know. Jab tries to attack him, and something bounces him back like there's a force field, and I'm wondering, if it was a hologram, why would it need a force field? Wouldn't Jab just slam against the wall? Whatever. Anyway, Paradigm exposits his whole evil plan to them for no reason. Cartoon villain, I guess. Anyway, he wants to gene wash the president. Now, gene washing is different from gene slamming, what he's been doing in the other episodes. Gene slamming refers to him altering the genes of a creature and mutating them into a monster. Gene washing, they don't really explain well what exactly it is. It sounds like brainwashing. In fact, if you replaced gene washing with brainwashing, it would make a whole lot more sense. But for whatever reason, they use the term gene washing, I guess because, I don't know. I guess gene slamming was a term that people knew, so they figured, I don't know, maybe they thought brainwashing would be bringing in too much extra terminology or something? Who knows? Anyway, he says it's an undetectable process, and, whatever. Oh, and I just noticed there's a misspelling in my notes here. There we go. Fix that. So, anyway, back at the White House, oh yeah, when you learn the president's name, President Horn. Oh, Dave Horn, actually. He says his first name at the end of the episode, so President Dave Horn. Is that a real guy? There probably is a politician named Dave Horn by now. Anyway, he's in the White House talking over something with his vice president, and he's mentions how he doesn't trust Paradigm. That dude's weird, after all. And then there's a funny part. The vice president, Russell, responds, Dr. Paradigm is a brilliant man. He's going to reinvent the world. And he speaks in this weird robotic way, and Horn doesn't really seem to think anything of it, and I'm wondering, is that just his normal voice? Because I was thinking, like, a lot of politicians do have odd voice characteristics. So, I don't know, maybe this isn't out of the ordinary for him to speak very robotically. I know Al Gore sometimes, they said he would speak very robotically. Oh, maybe, let's see, this was 94 or 95, right? So, was Bill Clinton president? He would have at least been, like, around, like, people would have known him, along with Al Gore, so maybe Russell was based a little bit off of how Al Gore spoke. So anyway, Paradigm just walks right in. Understandably, the president's like, how did you get in here? Who let you in here? And Paradigm's like, oh, Russell said I could come in. And then, elsewhere, the Secret Service agents are guarding Calamari and Reptile. Reptile was the mutant in the other cage. Alright. Kind of weird they never showed him up till this point. Would have cleared some things up. So anyway, they turn away for a second. Calamari opens the door, and then we don't see what happens to the Secret Service. Somehow they got them out of the room and incapacitated. All the Secret Service guys show up just fine not too long after, so I don't know what happened. Maybe Calamari shot them with darts, but they're not, like, super poisonous. They just knock them out for a while now. Whatever. Paradigm forces Horn into the room with Calamari and Reptile. They hold the president hostage, and Paradigm reveals that he's gene-washed the vice president and now plans to do the same thing to Horn. And then, let's see, the Sharks are able to escape the box by hitting it a lot. Alright, that's... whatever. It held them for a little while. No reason to come up with a clever idea. So anyway, they burst up through the floor of the Oval Office to save the president, and then they immediately get arrested by the Secret Service. But Slamu gets away. He tracks down the president, but then he gets captured. And then, for some reason, Paradigm changes his mind about gene-washing the president and decides he's going to gene-slam him because it's more fun, I guess. Slamu is able to break the restraints that he's locked in. It smacks the little chemical gun thing out of Paradigm's hand. It falls on the ground and splashes all over Calamari's face, which turns him into a crazy monster with a huge head. Okay. And then, so, Calamari gets all savage and violent. Slamu grabs the president, he escapes, and then he gets up to the surface, and his brothers and the Secret Service see him, and they all go after him at once. The Secret Service, I guess, just forgets about the Sharks. I don't know, Slamu has the president with him, so that takes priority, I guess. And then, oh yeah, there's a funny bit. The Secret Service starts shooting at Slamu, and then Vox is like, "Stop shooting! You might hit the president! What are you, CIA?" I don't know where this throwing shade at CIA came from, but it was kind of a funny bit. And it makes me wonder, like, was this an actual thing in the news or something? Did the Secret Service not get along with CIA? So whatever. Oh, and Reptile shows up, and he has a new ability. Like Calamari, he can shoot things out of his hands, except Reptile can shoot live electric eels out of his hands. Alright, that's a thing. So then, let's see. He's defeated, and then, oh yeah, Calamari is defeated in a very Looney Tunes way. The Sharks grab him, and then just spin him around really fast, and he drills into the ground and gets stuck. Alright, once in a while, Street Sharks will go really cartoony, like this, and whatever then. So then, somewhere along the line, the show about shark superheroes fighting a mad scientist got really silly. So then the Sharks get President Horn back in the White House, introduce themselves. Horn trusts them now, but then he overhears Paradigm outside the door telling the Secret Service that the Sharks are going to gene-wash the president, and if the president says, "The Sharks are my friends and they saved me from getting kidnapped by Paradigm," then that means they've already gene-washed him and you can't trust what he says. So then, there's a bit of a clever thing. Horn, let's see, he allows the Sharks to escape, then he lets the Secret Service guys in and tells them, "Arrest the Sharks, they kidnapped me." And this way, Paradigm can't say anything. If Paradigm says anything against Horn now, then it just makes him look more suspicious. So that was kind of a clever plot twist there. And, let's see. So the Sharks escape, and they plan to meet up with President Horn at the Washington Monument. Oh, and Ben shows up in this very destructive vehicle called the Road Ripper. Let's see, the Sharks are in these underground tunnels, and they see this big drill going through the ground, and they're like, "Dude, it's Ben's!" They associate Ben's with destroying the road? There's no reason to be using this thing, and, like, Ben's didn't even know if the Sharks were, like, in danger or not. He could have just brought their normal vehicles, but instead he brought this thing that literally destroys the road. Whatever. They all jump on the Road Ripper, and, let's see, they burst up through the floor of the Washington Monument where the president's waiting for them. They weren't in a hurry or anything. They could have just taken the stairs. They just, like, wrecked a big chunk of a national monument. Whatever. The president tells them that he'll try to make the people see them as heroes. Then he gives them a suitcase full of Humongo burgers. That's pretty funny. And Samu seems sad, though, and he tells President Horn that, "One day I dreamed of becoming president, but now I'll always be a fugitive." But then President Horn comforts him. "Anyone can become a president in this country of ours, even a shark." And that makes Samu happy, and there's the end of the episode. And this was a really fun, very silly 90s-y episode. But yeah, I love this one. It's a really fun one. I love that we get some focus for Samu, and it reveals a lot about his personality. Of all the sharks, I think Samu probably gets the most, like, personality and character development through the whole series. We learn a lot about him, uh, like, in contrast to the other sharks. Like, Streaks is, let's see, he's kind of on the nose. His one personality trait is he's vain, he likes girls, and that's kind of his thing. Jab, he's kind of all over the place. Like, he's kind of a cynical, kind of, like, lazy guy. He's lazy at the beginning, but it should, like, he is clever and he knows how to get things done, but we don't learn too much. And Ripster, despite being the leader and, like, one of my favorite characters, and I love his voice and his design, we really don't learn a lot about him either. In the first episode, when he's human, we do know that he has, like, a clever mind and he knows how to, we see that, oh, what do they call it? The machine with all the parts that move each other, powered by the mouse and the wheel, which I'm hoping somebody's feeding that mouse, because, or the rat, whatever. Because he hasn't gone back to his house, has he? To feed her? Oh yeah, Hillary, that was the name of the rat. Huh. What happened to Hillary the rat? Sure hope she's okay. So anyway, there's Street Sharks, the first shark. I really love this one. Don't really know what else to say about it, so I'll end it here. See ya.